My classroom management is definitely different from most educators I've observed, as well as teachers that I know. I think to onlookers, sometimes it looks out of control or chaotic. But to me, I see controlled chaos that is intentional and freedom. There's a lot of autonomy in my classroom. I think that with the implementation of PBL and hands-on learning and student-led learning experiences, it looks like there's students moving around the room. They're working on different things. They're building things. It's a mess. Anytime you give a fourth grader freedom to explore, there's going to be mess and there's going to be a learning experience. And it's definitely something that I like to teach them as I have them for longer periods of time. If you look at third grade, when they're working on their PBLs or labs, it is absolutely insane. But I would like to think that by the end of their fifth grade year, my students are able to understand the expectations that I have for them, and they're working like a well-oiled machine. So giving them the freedom to test boundaries and to explore their curiosities sometimes looks like a mess and it sounds like a mess, but I think that the learning experiences that they get in return are worth it. And so I definitely have room for growth in this area, but I'm also really proud of my management style that students have the freedom to be a fourth grader and they have the freedom to explore what happens if I do this, what will happen if I do this, or find answers to their questions in my classroom. The dialogue that I engage with in my classroom with my students is different from most other teachers. And I think the reason I'm able to do that is because of the relationships that I've formed with them. And so it's definitely unique, the way that I'm able to communicate with my students and the way I'm able to give them a lot of freedom and responsibility. And that comes through exploration of boundaries and learning how to meet the expectation and kind of figuring that out as they go. But I'm really proud that that's something that I feel like by the end of my class, most of my students are able to work independently and they're learning to take ownership of their learning. And I feel like they grow in a lot of ways because I give them freedom to explore. Another thing that I feel like is really important about my management style that is not only with student relationships but also parent relationships and staff relationships is that I really try to intentionally pour in positive things, making sure that I express the way that I feel about things, expressing my intentions, and filling the bucket before I ever have to have those conversations that can sometimes be tricky. So with a parent, that's making positive parent contact, and that's reaching out and praising students whenever they do great things. And that's something that I really tried to do. Even this year when it was crazy and my to-do list was really long, that was something that I always tried to do, making sure that I reach out and that every student that I'm finding a positive way to talk to their parent about them. And then also as staff members, making sure that I go out of my way to speak to them and engage with them and write that thank you note, give them a small gift, or doing nice things just to make sure that they know that I value them and that I see all of the great work that they're doing. And same thing with students, going out of my way to make sure that they know how I feel about them and make sure that that positive communication is there so that when it comes to the time to talk about boundaries or talk about expectations, there's a level of respect and understanding that my intentions are good. And so that's another thing that I feel like is a great factor in my management style. So, yeah.